Hello, Sumo fans. Let's see if it's actually working. Okay, I think it's working. It's always fun trying to set this whole thing up again after a month of not doing it. You never quite know if it's going to function properly or not. So, if you have any trouble hearing me, let me know in the chatting section. So, we have a lot to talk about. Today was sort of a wild day. This whole tournament is going to be one of those tournaments where the top guys are not performing the way you would expect or hope the top guys to perform it. Like Hoshoryu, Kirishima, we're having some problems. Not necessarily unexpected, but definitely disappointing. And our leaderboard looks kind of nuts. So once again, unstable tournament. And we're going to go through all that. I've got some notes on Juryo because everybody's always wants to talk about Juryo. So I'm going to make sure we do that. And we'll talk about tomorrow's matchups and just kind of decide what we think is going to happen next. So let's start today with the leaderboard. The leaderboard, we have 9-1 Atamifuji, 8-2 Takayasu, 7-3 Takakeisho, Hokuto Fuji, Onosato, Endo, and Tsurugisho. So that 7-3 group, just full of people that you wouldn't normally see in the playoff race. Now, of course, I was talking to John, and John was like, well, it's still early, and Tuesday is early. So much changes by the time you get to Friday, but still in all, this is sort of a wild situation here. In terms of today's matches, it was pretty shocking that Atamifuji handled Takayasu the way he did. At first, it looked like he just completely overpowered him. But I did notice on the replay that he sort of tripped the foot a little bit while. It was almost kind of like one of those, somebody's kneeling down behind the person, you push them and they fall over. So he sort of clipped the foot as he was pushing with all of his might. And Takayasu was very slow getting up, which is a little nerve-wracking. He landed very hard on his back, and that's been a continual issue for him. That's been one of the things that's kept him out. So that's a little bit of a problem. But I did not expect to be saying that Atamifuji would be at the top of the leaderboard. It's as if he's a totally different wrestler. And John and I talked about in the preview show that we didn't have much expectation for him. We would be surprised if he got his Kachikoshi and was able to remain in the top division this time, and here he is at the top of the leaderboard. It's as if something has shifted and changed for him. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes from here and if we get any interviews. But he was in Sumo Prime Time, and he has kind of an interesting personality. So more to come from Atamifuji. As I was talking about with the match with Takayasu, this is once again a golden opportunity for Takayasu. He's positioned himself again in the top of the leaderboard for another tournament where the top guys aren't there. You would think this would be his tournament to win, but he's had the most epic collapses of all the wrestlers. That's one thing going against him. And now the way that he landed today, I wouldn't be shocked if he pulls out. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's not as bad as it looked. But we've been surprised before. So we'll have to see. I'm going to put a big asterisk next to his name because I'm just not sure at this point. Let's get into our 7-3 guys. So Takakeisho should be in every conversation. If he's healthy, he's the seasoned Ozeki. He should be in the Yusho race in the perfect world every tournament. So on one hand, this makes sense for him to be 7-3. But on the other hand, nobody predicted Takakeisho to be the best performing Ozeki in this tournament. Everybody expected Hoshoryu to continue on. He wasn't going to be affected by the Shin Ozeki curse. Or they expected Kirishima to be, more recovered from his injury and, was going to run away with it. And now, once again, you're seeing that is not the case. And what I would say it tells you is that, once again, being Ozeki is really, really hard. And there's a reason why there's been so many guys who've come up and gone down. And Takakeisho is the guy, regardless of injury, regardless of situation, who stayed in that spot this long. There's something a little extra about him that helps him keep the position. And, Kirishima and Hoshoryu, they are special fighters, but they're not the caliber yet of, like the Haramofujis of the world or the Asashoryus of the world. They've got to get a little bit stronger or a little bit less flappable. Like in Hoshoryu's case, I think it's very mental with him. He came in with a full head of steam, was going to show his Ozeki pride, and he's just been completely swallowed up and overwhelmed. Not a big shock. As long as he gets his Kachikoshi, then he doesn't even have to think about it. Next tournament, he can just start all over again. Kirishima, I'm guessing, is probably still injured, but I also think he is folding a little bit under the pressure. He's not quite as strong as some of the guys he has to face for 15 days. He's skilled and strong, but Terunofuji is strong. That's why he's the Yokozuna. With all my gushing about Takakeisho, he does not look that good. His wins have been pretty desperate wins. He's kind of doing what he needs to do kind of stuff. A lot of, just outputting all of his power and then falling flat on his face. This has happened multiple times in this tournament. So, doesn't look great, but at the same time, he has the drive to keep going. And at this point, I don't care about the Yusho as much as clearing Kataban. He just needs one more win. And then we can talk leaderboard. Next, we have Hokuto Fuji. Okay, so, we were joking earlier on. And everybody, I see you in the chat. I promise to read your comments after I get through my long spiel here, but thank you all for coming. Hokuto Fuji, we're kind of joking, maybe we did Hokuto Fuji Yusho too early because he has beaten all 3 Ozeki. And right after he did that, he started falling apart a little bit. He's righting the ship, and now he's kept himself in Yusho contention in a group that's totally wild. So it's not out of possibility yet, but usually when you're in the 3-loss group in week 2, this early you're not going to win because you have to win out. Usually 12-3 is the worst case scenario. And I will point out right now a comment that Monster made, which is possible 11-4 Yusho. This is very possible. This is the kind of wild Yusho where you might have an 11-4. And I believe the last one of those was actually a Terunofuji win 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to check that. But Atamifuji's a new guy who could collapse at any second. Takayasu might be injured and pulling out. And all these 7-3 guys already have 3 losses. So very likely one of these guys is going to get another loss and could still win the whole thing. So wildness. Back to Onosho. He's also in the 7-3 group. He has the easiest schedule going forward. He's had the easiest schedule in total. Not necessarily counting him as Yusho potential yet. Endo, the guy who I think should have won a Yusho by now and is one of the most talented guys in sumo but is constantly hampered by injury, has 7 straight wins. So he went from starting off the tournament terribly to now being quite amazing. Is he Yusho material right now? I don't know. Once again, with 3 losses, you're already on the razor's edge. But look at who's ahead of him. I mean, he can beat any of these guys. And then we have Tsurugisho, who's sort of kept this momentum that he's had for several tournaments. He had a little off in July, but that was probably all the slipping and stuff. He's consistently putting together these good tournaments so far. So as long as he doesn't have a collapse, I don't think he's winning the Yusho, but on the same token, he's looking pretty good. Pretty lame Hanka today. Not gonna say whether Hankas are good or not, but it was a pretty lame Hanka. With that said, maybe he should have been on guard because Kim Bozan's a rookie. So maybe he should have been expecting that as a possibility. So that's what happened today. Let's talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Atamifuji and Tobizaru. Now that's going to be a wild match because Tobizaru's a man on a mission. He's decided at this point that he's going to do whatever it takes to win. And sometimes that really works out in his favor, and sometimes he looks pretty foolish. So with Atamifuji being a new guy, Tobizaru could try all sorts of things. It's really going to be up to Atamifuji to stick to him like glue and not get too nervous and worry about what he's going to do. We have Hokuto Fuji versus Tsurugisho. They're attempting to, thin out the 7-3 group, which of course makes sense. That will probably, obviously whoever loses that is probably done. Because even if it's an 11-4, you would still early to have to win out. So I think that's a pretty even match, honestly, with the way Tsurugisho is fighting right now. So going to be important. I don't think I could give an edge to either fighter in that one. Next, we have Daisho versus Takayasu. That's a really rough match as well because Daisho is one of the hardest people to fight in a slap battle, which is what he's going to turn it into. And Daisho's on the upswing right now. He's starting to look good. Takayasu might be hurt. If Takayasu's not hurt, then he should be able to handle Daisho. But I bet you that's going to be a longer match than typical. Then Onoshu has Miyagino. Miyagiru's doing pretty good. He's 6-4. I'm sure he'd like nothing more than to really show off against Onosho. But Onosho is, if he didn't have the injured knees, he's found something where he really could be turning the ship around and putting together something. I feel like we're in the start of something with him, but his knees are still a little messed up. Then we have another fascinating match, which is Gon Oyama versus Endo. So you've got the brand new rookie with so much potential, so much strength. He looks great. His record's falling off now, as expected for a new guy. But he looks great, and he can use the belt. He's actually not using the belt because Goeido doesn't want him to. But if he's in a desperate situation, he can use the belt. And he will. And, Endo's the technician, and he's also going to want to show the new guy, you can't beat me. So that's going to be a really fascinating match. I'm going to give the slight edge to Endo, but Gon Oyama could surprise us. And then Takakeisho is fighting Wakamoto Haru. Wakamoto Haru seems to really be struggling. Guess he's not a pressure guy. When he had the prospect of Ozeki coming, things have just been falling apart for him ever since. I mean, he's hanging in there. But he's not the fighter he was that we expected to become Ozeki. So, But Takakeisho looks pretty desperate. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a Hanka tomorrow. I hope not. Please, 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 Takakeisho, don't do a Hanka. But I feel this dread in my stomach that he might. Wakamoto Haru is the exact guy to try a Hanka on. And Takakeisho just wants that 8th win. So please don't do it, Takakeisho. Please. Please, I beg of you. So I'm going to go into Juryo really quick, talk about some of the injury stuff, and then we'll get into the comments. So for Juryo, we have on the leaderboard 9-1 Ichi Yamamoto. I didn't see that one coming. And Ono Sato. Ono Sato is looking great. It was a shame that he lost the way he did today because Ichi Yamamoto actually made Ono Sato look like him. Like, his feet went right out from under him, and, that's a tough way to lose when you're in the lead. So, we're going to have to see what happens there. 8-2, Churanumi. I haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen any of his matches yet. 7-3, many familiar names, and a new man. So we have Tomokaze, me and John. We love Tomokaze. If you listen to older 42 Opinions, we can't stop talking about him. This is very, very exciting news that he's 7-3. I can only hope that he just keeps pushing and pushing. I'd love to see him back in the upper division. Bushozan, very encouraging. And then we have Shishi, who's skyrocketing on his way up. He's going to be the next great hype that we're going to see. And Ten Shoho, whom he was not on my radar at all. And he looked pretty good, but he had a rough day of it today. And so did Kiho. I'm going to get into that. So Kiho is this little tiny man, but boy, is he strong. And then Ten Shoho, nice solid fighter. Both of these guys were in rough matches today where we might have pullouts tomorrow. You know, we're talking concussions for Ten Shoho, and then Kiho. He did some weird split thing. I can't even imagine what's actually injured. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, but he fell so awkwardly into that split. That could be anything. And then with the upper division guys, we have Tamawashi and Takayasu. Tamawashi got blasted out of the ring and hit his head on the floor. And Takayasu, his back. So rough day of sumo. Everybody wants to win. And I just feel like you could just put names in a hat and pick one at this point, and you might be closer to predicting the winner than anything else. So let's get to the comments, because I see lots of people here. Thank you all for coming. Very excited that you're here to chat with me. Monster says, first note on Juryo. I was livid that my guy Tohakuryu lost to flagging Shimano-Umi. I thought he might finally get promoted to Division 1. Well, just keep in mind that Shimano-Umi is a pretty scrappy guy. So even if he's not doing the best, he can beat you on any day. So it's unfortunate, but not a complete surprise. Jack says, hey, hello, I'm here too, lurking. Thank you for lurking, Jax. Hello, Daniel. Monster says, I would say I think Takakeisho is my pick for the Yusho winner at this point. I will say this, knocking on wood, of course, and my complete bias, but it's just the truth. Takakeisho is capable of taking this Yusho. He's the only guy on the entire list who's won one. All your guys that were supposed to do so great are not on this list. So we have Atamifuji, brand new guy, Takayasu, possibly injured, has a curse on him where he cannot seem to win a Yusho no matter what. Onosho never won, Endo never won, Tsurugisho never won, Hokuto Fuji never won, came very close. Don't take your eyes off of him for sure, and don't take your eyes off of Endo. So it's possible, but Takakeisho definitely isn't 100%. He's got his power back, which is exciting, but he's not 100%. So we'll have to see what happens, but it's not a bad pick. And then Monster says, I sure didn't expect that Hanka. I didn't expect Kimbozan to Hanka either. That was a little shocking. And Tsurugisho, man, that had to sting. Because, at the time he was, he still is in Yusho contention, but he was in a better spot. So that hard to lose your spot on a Hanka like that. And then Monster says, I predict Gonama wins. He's really impressed me. Gonoyama, I think the Takakeisho Gonoyama match was the perfect way to sum up Gonoyama, and quite expected. First of all, I had no idea that those guys grew up together, that Takakeisho was his mentor, that Gonoyama followed him to Saitama Sakai. Like, they have a long history that I had no idea about until I saw a picture of the two of them together, and then I went Wikipedia snooping. So Gonoyama was probably pretty starstruck, but the thing I noticed the most was the difference in power. Takakeisho's power is so much greater than Gonoyama's, which means all the rest, it's not like Takakeisho. Takakeisho is stronger than some guys, but they're all pretty equivalent in power. So I think Gonoyama is going to be a stud, a major stud if he stays healthy, because he is powerful. He's not intimidated, but the fact that he can also pull out a belt move means that he'll keep guys off. Like, they won't know for sure that he won't go for the belt. Like with Takakeisho, you know he's not going for the belt. You know that if you, like Tobizaru showed you how to beat Takakeisho. Just run around the ring for a while and Takakeisho will get tired. But Gon Oyama, that's not going to work with him. So I think, I have high hopes for him. Hello, Mitch. Glad to see you. Matthew Murphy. Hey, I'm here in Tokyo. Went yesterday and I've got box seats for the matches today. Whoa, are you there right now? Because it must be the early matches now. That is super exciting. You're going to have to put some comments on this video after the fact and like tell us like how awesome it is. That is so cool. Easy Macro. Hey fellas, been looking for a stream. Glad we could give you one. Monster says, Churanomi has been in the second division forever. He has a well-earned shot at the top division. There was somebody else that was the case. Why am I blanking? Somebody else who was in the second division forever and then just catapulted up. Well, Tobizaru was certainly one of those guys. I almost forget that he spent a ton of time in Juryo. Mitch says, I'm worried overall when it comes to Kiho. Pull out last tournament and hopefully not becoming an injury magnet. Kiho has the small man sumo problem. I mean, it stinks too because he's so powerful. He's got that small muscular body, and those are my favorite kind of wrestlers, but they have a hard time succeeding because they are on the knife's edge in every match. Make one mistake, they obliterate you. The guys have got so much weight on you, and I think that's what happened with Kiho today. I think he tried to do the split in order to spare himself, but I think it actually was the worst thing he could have done. So yeah, Kiho might be an injury magnet just simply because he's too small. It's such a shame. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not as big of a deal as it looked. Jack says, Takayasu looked hurt right before he spins and falls. Watch the replay 3 times. So he was hurt before he fell, is what you're saying? I'll have to take a look at that because all I noticed was like Atamifuji just manhandling him. That was not what I expected to see in that match. I thought for sure it would be the other way around. I thought Takayasu was just going to blast him out and it was going to be like, good luck, kid, thanks for showing up. And it was like, whoa, what happened to Atamifuji? What kind of food is he eating back at the stable? Matthew Murphy, the crowd was dead quiet when Kimbo was on Hanked. Yeah. And it was funny as I was watching Murray Johnson, and he was like, yeah, not going to get an applause for that one. He's not a fan of Hanka, but he, like myself, has retired from talking about it because it brings up too much controversy. Easy Macro, it's great Keisho looks solid. We were all thinking he'd be out this basho last time. What a pleasant surprise, right? Like, I can't help it, but if you go back to the polls, and I was like, who's going to have the best tournament? Takakeisho was only 4%, and it was like Hoshoryu, Kirishima, everybody else was going to be like the guy. And instead, I can't help it. I'll be accused of all sorts of bias, but it's the truth. The reason I like Takakeisho is you can't put that man down. Until he is done, he will fight till the very last ounce of energy that he has. He will show how tough he is. He never gives up. And he's showing you, he's like, yeah, I may be hurt, but I'm Ozeki. I've been Ozeki when everybody else wasn't. Now I have to hope for not an epic collapse now, but he impresses me every tournament. Regardless of the results, I can feel the heart and the desire and the hard work, and I'm just a big fan. Mitch says, can we go over the wording on my strongly worded letter to the Shrimps on some of their decisions these last couple of days? Are you referring to all the questionable calls that have been going on? See, if I had come on last night, there's so much I would have said, and by today I was like, all right, that was yesterday. But yeah, the first question I have was, Was Kota Waka's dad at ringside yesterday? It was a little sketchy. Just saying. I have to be careful, though, because sometimes people don't like my conspiracy theories, but it was a little sketchy. And even today, the Takakeisho Ura match, I'm glad it was a Torino Aoshi instead of, like, reversing the call, because it's like, So, yeah, they had a whole bad day where they didn't call Monoise when they should have, and that reversal was insane with the Goto no Waka. You don't reverse a call unless it's pretty definitive. If it's on the edge, then you should do the redo. So I don't know. Everybody seems to be losing it. Like the judges are as chaotic as the Banzuke. And the Monster says the past 2 basho, the refereeing has been bad. It's a little, I don't know. Maybe the chaos just is catching. Maybe everybody's like just not in their right minds right now. Matthew said Takayasu and Atamifuji look massive in the ring together. Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I can't imagine what it's like to actually see these guys in person, real life. Like, wow. I hope you can find a way to like get in a fan line or something and get some autographs. Easy macro. Hoshoryu and Kirishima have been all over the place this tournament. With Hoshoryu, it's not a surprise. I'm not panicking about it because he's Shin Ozeki. This keeps happening to Shin Ozeki, especially someone like Hoshoryu, who's got the world's pressure on him with his uncle's shadow over him. But then on top of it all, everybody's just waiting for the next guy to take over because Terunofuji's on the way out. And this is going to happen to every single Ozeki going forward because there's just not enough wrestlers anymore. We do have some nice, like some of the younger prospects are turning out really well, which is good. Like when Hakuho comes back, that's going to be great. Gonoyama looks great. Shishi's on the way up. Hopefully Tomokaze's on the way up. So hopefully this will ease. But at this point, like, Hoshoryu has done this over and over again where it's hard for him to compete in the really stressful situations. Kirishima, on the other hand, I think he's hurt. I think he's got a chronic problems, and that's not the place you want to be when you're Ozeki, that's for sure. Mitch says, I'm not so super mad at the Gyoji, but more the shrimps. Or the S shrimps. What are the shrimps? Are you talking about the judges on the side? I feel like I'm just missing something. Monster says, although I don't think there was anything wrong with the Kotonwaka versus Hoshoryu match, and that the other one people were complaining about where the guy jumped out. Let's just say it's better when calls are more consistent. Anytime you have, a decision one way in one match and a decision another in another match, or even between like tournaments, like say July. Remember July, they did no Monois at all? None. It was like we were making a big joke about when's the first Monoe going to come. They just decided, nope, we're not doing any redos. And now this tournament, they're doing a ton of them, and then you do a reversal. It just, the inconsistency gets people mad. It's a little bit akin to like calling balls and strikes in baseball. It's hard to be consistent, but people are expecting consistency, and when it feels off, it just feels off. But that's sort of the human element of all of this, so I don't know how you would do it better. And then Monster said Abi versus Ura, I think. Yeah, I think that was the one. Easy macro. Keisho is what we call a DOG. Okay, what's a DOG? Are you saying like an actual dog, or does that stand for something? I feel like I'm out of the loop on all these references. Mitch says, I did not like the decision in the Kotonowaka versus Hoshoryu match. I was fine with the Takakeisho versus Ura match. Then the lack of Monoe in the Kotoeko match a couple days ago. That's where they get themselves into trouble. And I almost feel like what happens is, Takakeisho Ura. We'll talk about that again. I'll expand upon that. I think what happens is when a bunch of matches are close and they start calling monois, then they freak out that they're calling too many monois. So then, like, they'll hesitate in certain matches where they're like, no, we've said too many. And it's like, you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as individual match, or you have people complaining on that end. So I just feel like there's mental gymnastics going on when they're making these choices. So yeah, Takakeisho Ura. It depends on how you want to look at that. And this is a controversial thing in sumo that I understand it, but I can't grasp how you could make it fair. They called the dead body rule on Ura. But here's the thing. Ura was not a dead body. Ura knew when to jump. He intentionally jumped at the right moment so the Takakeisho would hit down first. There's no question the Takakeisho hit down first. But then they can pull in the dead body rule. The only reason why I didn't have as much of a problem with it is not because it was Takakeisho, but because a rematch usually favors the opponent and not Takakeisho. So they gave it another shot. Takakeisho is usually pretty, pretty winded, and him doing a rematch right away usually means he's going to lose. So Ura just didn't need to go so low. I'm not really sure what he thought he was going to do, because Takakeisho is known to do that slapdown. So maybe it wasn't perfect, but that wasn't the most egregious in my opinion. Mitch says, I wonder why the judges are the ones that make the banzuke, so it's understandable they're both chaotic. Of course. You can see the human line of thinking. And, remember that Issei Gahama's not there anymore. So maybe whoever, I know it's Kotonowaka's dad who's like the head guy now. Now you're going to see a different train of thinking. And if you have somewhat of an erratic thinker or someone who like just is all over the place, you're going to see that in the decisions. So remember that this is somewhat new. Monster says, if you jump back at the end of a match, Tori Naoshi is the best result you can really hope for. The judges hate that. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the best call considering that they had called for the Monoi. I mean, if you had given Ura the match, I think it would have been fair. I would have been fair to say, hey, Ura jumped at the last minute. But that dead body rule is like up for interpretation. That's the problem. They can interpret it any way they want. And I'm not really sure. I would love to know what makes them make that call when they do and what doesn't. Is it like the wrestler themselves? Like, do they want Takakeisho to win, so they did that? I don't know. I don't want to get conspiratorial again. And then Monster says Koto Echo was straight up robbed. I feel like Koto Echo gets robbed a lot. And I think, once again, it's kind of like, well, he's not one of the high-level wrestlers, so we can do it to this guy. That's how it feels. I'm not saying that's what it is. That's how it feels. Mitch says the judges are called Shinpan. Oh, yeah, of course. Got it. It's late. Sometimes I can't think, and this is one of those nights where I'm not making connections. I gotcha, Mitch. I understand. Monster says, I assume the reason they stopped calling Monoi sometimes is because of TV time constraints. Oh, I guarantee that's true. Guarantee. Because even when Hiro does those live streams, he's always checking his watch, and he's always checking, like, do we have more time? And it's a live stream. It's like, this isn't the same as being on TV, and yet he's like, okay, we have this certain amount of time. So and even when you see it on the NHK World highlight shows, like, they'll cut out stuff just to fit it in the perfect amount of time. It always ends on the exact minute. So, yeah, they probably go, oh, we're running out of time. So that causes issues too. I wish, it's tricky, right? Because in American sports, you don't have that. The game just ends when it ends. We don't treat it like a TV show. Monster said, I've seen lots of people call them shrimps. The nickname is Shrimply Irresistible. I've seen the nickname shrimps too. That's why I'm like, okay, I know what this means, but I told you I'm tired. I can't make connections sometimes. I don't know why, but I'm going to remember the next time I see shrimps that we're talking about the Shinpan. Mitch says, to me, the Ura decision is as textbook dead body rule as you can make it. Well, there you go. I mean, I've seen them do that. But the question is, why would Ura try to do the jump if he's already going to be a dead body anyway? Like, is there ever a time where they don't call you a dead body when you do it? Or is it just something you do out of reflex? I'd have to see enough matches in those scenarios to see if they ever not call it a dead body rule. But yes, I mean, they consider it's you're floating in the air. You're still outside of the ring. You're still going to land. So, it's tricky. Jack says last 3 matches in 11 minutes. Yeah, and don't forget that they have to do, the last 6 wrestlers, get up there and do stuff, and there's a lot of ceremony, so they've got a lot to go on in a little bit of time. Mitch says, it's the jump going backwards is what does it. If he has even a chance to land in the ring, I don't think they ding him for it. This is some good perspective. So it's almost like, once again, I want to use the pitcher-catcher reference. It's almost like when a catcher catches the ball below the strike zone and then quickly lifts his glove up, hoping that the umpire is going to see the final position of the glove instead of the fact that he moved the glove up. I mean, that's a consistent thing that catchers will do. So I'm going to equate it to that. Monster says, Japanese society seems to be extremely punctual. I'm a little jealous, honestly. I hate when people show up hours late to things because they don't care. I'm a punctual person as well, so I do enjoy that about Japan, and I enjoy the stability of it. Which reminds me, since we have somebody in Japan right now, you have any time stories, Matthew Murphy? I mean, does everything run like clockwork in the Kokugikan? Because, oh, man, I want to go so bad. That's, like, on my list. Like, I know a lot of people who want to go to Japan, and they're like, oh, I want to go to Tokyo, and I want to go to Akihabara, and I want to do this, that. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to look at the sumo schedule. If I can't go when there's a tournament, I'm going to see if I can get to a stable, or if there's a, one of those practice, the traveling practice sessions. Like, mine's going to be based on sumo stuff if I ever get there. Easy Macro says, Monster, I don't know what sport you go to in the USA, but people are usually there at the crack of dawn, especially college tailgates. I think he might be talking about just in general. But yeah, with sports, I mean, if you're going to pay $150 to $200 for your ticket, you better show up. You better show up early and party. You better stay late until they kick you out. I mean, it's just, that's me. That's definitely me. I like to show up very, very early. Hello, Lady Lid. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. And Monster confirms, yes, just in general. Yeah, I mean, in Japan, I'm jealous of the fact that, like, the trains run so smoothly and the buses, and like, if they say it's going to be here, it's going to be here. It's kind of like forget it in America. Maybe in, like, big cities, but in non-big cities, yeah, forget it. It might show up, like, within 30 minutes of when it's going to come. Jack says that he's very happy and jealous of Matthew. Me too. Matthew says, sometimes they seem to be stalling with a lot of advertising banners, but all runs pretty smoothly. Are you talking about the ones where they walk around the ring? Or is there other advertising that also goes on that we just don't see? Oh, Mitch. I was waiting for you to, like, get all negative about Tobizaru again. This is, like, starting to be funny for me that you dislike Tobizaru so much. It makes me like Tobizaru just so much more because you don't like him. Side note, I'm really hoping Atamifuji sends Tobizaru into the cheap seats today. Let's see if Atamifuji can send Tobizaru into Matt's box. That'd be quite the feat. I don't know about that though, Mitch. As much as you may want that, Atamifuji's got to be getting a little nervous by now. 9-1. He just knocked out the guy who was tied with him. I don't know. Tobizaru is very good at taking advantage of any weakness that you have. If you stutter a little bit, he's going to be on you, especially if you're a young guy. Monster says, I'm hoping Tobizaru uses monkey magic to send Atamifuji into the stands. I want that Takakeisho Yusho. I want the Takakeisho Yusho also. Even if I don't pick him, rest assured, I'm always rooting for Takakeisho to win. Matt says, yeah, the ring banners. Well, maybe they are stalling in terms of like they have to make the time go a certain way, but at the same time, maybe there's just a lot of advertisements this time around. What's nice is it's sold out, and I do wonder when you have sold out tournaments if you get more banners, like if they wait till the last minute and they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to get the most amount of advertising at this one, so let's throw our banner in last minute. Jack says, Tobizaru's Mawashi hasn't been a factor all week. Exactly. He does not necessarily have to rely on that, though his record's not as good as when his Mawashi was flapping all over the place. Easy Macro says, Hokuseiho. What about Hokuseiho? And Mitch says, to talk about time wasting during sumo to keep on schedule, look at the Tate Gyoji having to do show and tell if they're super ahead of schedule. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they have all these little built-in, we'll call it ceremony, that they will suddenly pull out if they have to. And that usually happens in tournaments where there's a lot of injuries. So those are matches that aren't going to happen. Potentially, that's going to be tomorrow. We have possibly Tamawashi. I mean, I don't know why Tamawashi would come back. He's already 0-9. You know, this is the worst tournament he's had in a very, very long time. And then he landed really, really hard outside of the ring. That was a shame, man. I hate to see that. And then, I don't know. I got a bad feeling that Takayasu is going to pull out. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. And then, you know, in the Juryo end, we have Kiho and Tenshoho. Likely both are going to pull out there. And then there's all kinds of guys that we don't even know are injured. And hopefully we don't find out. Monster says, I'll say it. I like watching Hokuseiho matches. He's weird. He is weird. In the best possible way. He's just so tall. And it's such a shame that we lost Ichinojo and Tochinoshin right when this guy shows up. I mean, think about how cool those matches would have been. I feel like we've been robbed. And I'm very upset about it. I'm very upset about it. And poor Hokuseiho, he has nobody tall enough. I mean, Kageyaki maybe. I'd like to see him match up against someone his height to see what he actually can do. Because how awkward is it to like always be reaching down for your opponents? Mitch says, has anyone even gotten on Tobizaru's belt this tournament yet? I've just been watching him do the fresh stroke all tournament to keep people off. I do not think, if anybody's gotten his belt, I don't remember it. He really has been keeping people away. That's like the strategy now. Okay, Easy Macro's message cut off. Oh, my bad. Rest of the message was cut off. Meant to say, good to see him be a little bit more aggressive his last matches. What's nice about Hokuseiho is that he's got Miyagino to just coach him constantly. Like, you know, he's seen every angle, and he knows all kinds of different fighters. So he's gonna push him. He's gonna say, you know what? If once you figure this out, just really, really go in there and be tough as nails. Speaking of which, on the official sumo, the Japanese Sumo Association YouTube page, there is a video of Ishiura, another wrestler, like a retired one, I'm not sure who it was, and Miyagino / Hakuho reviewing the matches from today. And I have to say, like, I don't speak Japanese, but I'm gonna do my best. I'm actually gonna go back in that video and pull out every word that I know, and I'm gonna translate it, because just the faces that he was making in some of those matches, I'm like, I need to understand what he's saying because this is probably the best commentary ever. So I recommend you at least take a look at it if you want to see his reactions. He looked so annoyed with the Takakeisho Ura rematch, and then Takakeisho slaps down Ura. He was just like, ugh. It's like, I need to know what he said just there. Monster says, I don't know if these are injuries or just bad falls, so I'll stay silent on it. Matthew says, there was a British guy sitting behind me explaining everything to the person he was sitting next to, but he was getting everything wrong and it was destroying me. Oh, no. You know, it's funny you say that because when I've seen the Sumo primetime interviews where they're interviewing random foreign people who are there for the Sumo tournament, they'll say things and I'm like, you don't really seem to know what you're talking about. Why can't you find, Matt? Why can't you find Matt and interview Matt? Somebody who's been watching Sumo, knows what they're talking about, could give you a great interview. Why are you finding these people who are just like, yay, Sumo, seems cool. I know nothing about it. Mitch says, you normally see show and tell when there's no Yokozuna to do the Yoko shuffle dance. That's true. You don't have your Yokozuna ceremony, so there's already a piece of time that you have to fill. Easy Macro says, Hokuseiho must have Hakuho on BP meds. Oh, I bet yeah. I can just picture that Hokuseiho gets the come here finger all the time. Like, hey, you, get over here. Jack says, Takakeisho might win it all because for the first time, I didn't pick him in Jason's contest. Tobizaru's belt hasn't been touched yet in 9 days. Well, that's why I don't pick Takakeisho. The few times I've picked him, I was trying to be optimistic, but I won't pick him anymore. From now on, I will pick the second person. Because even if I think Takakeisho could win, it's just too much of a jinx at this point, and I won't do it. Monster says, as the Heie Gashira, after this basho, Hokuseiho must be getting all the attention. Well, he was supposed to get all the attention to begin with, and then, Hakuho just shoots up. And now Hakuho is going to be out for a while, so Hokuseiho's got the spotlight back on. Lady Lid says, do you think the other Rikishi have figured him out? I see them trying to leg sweep more. Are you talking about Hokuseiho? Have they figured Hokuseiho out? Oh, yep, right down there. Hokuseiho, I mean. Yeah, I think they figured out that Hokuseiho is pretty awkward. And, yeah, he's like a giant tree. So if you go for the legs, he's not going to see it, first of all. I mean, he's so concentrated on trying to reach your belt. He can't really see. I mean, you've got the sense that someone's kicking at your legs, but he can't necessarily see it coming. So he is very vulnerable in the lower part of his body. Monster says they're trying things to figure him out, but it's only working sometimes. Yeah, because if you've got really strong legs, which Miyagino is going to force into him in training, those little kicks aren't always going to work. I mean, if you think about Hakuho, I mean, his legs are immovable. Immovable. That's what he wants to do to Hokuseiho. He can make him indestructible if he can get his lower body in the right place. Monster says, honestly, there's a lot of gimmicky Rikishi. I don't think getting figured out as much as a problem as people say for some guys. I don't know. Do you consider Hokuseiho a gimmicky Rikishi? Lady Lid says, it's not like you can stand him up. No, you can't stand him up. He's always standing up. Easy says, do you have a link to that video 42? Are you talking about the one I talked about with Hakuho doing the commentary? I can get you a link to that. I'll put it in the comments section because I got to do a little bit of searching because the channel is in Japanese. So I will get that link. I'll put it in the comments section when this live stream is over, so you'll be able to click on it. Mitch says, I want to go on Hiro's show just to preach my love and appreciation for Tobizaru Sumo. I bet it would rack up views so people can throw daggers at me. They wouldn't let you on, okay? If you told him the truth, they would scrap your interview. You would have to pretend And then you'd have to wink at the camera so that the rest of us would know what you really meant. And then Mitch says, I would love to see Hokuseiho adopt some Oshi's sumo to his playbook. I feel like it would help him a lot. I think at this point, Hokuseiho has got to figure out one solid thing that works and then build from there. And then get the next solid thing that works. And then the next solid thing that works. And the problem is his height. He is struggling so hard with his height. And which is something that Miyagino said before he even debuted. So they know this. Easy says, yeah, that one, and thank you. I tried searching, but yeah, definitely Japanese. I'd never find it. Yeah, I'm subscribed to it, and then it popped up as a recommendation. Sometimes they're hard to find, so I will definitely post that for you. Just, even if you don't speak Japanese, it's funny to see his facial expressions. I was telling John about it, and John's like, so what was his reaction? Was he annoyed or was he amused? I'm like, both. Like, he went dead silent. He did the, push his lips together, in displeasure, and then he said something in Japanese, and I'm like, I need to translate this later. This is driving me nuts, because he's not a huge fan of Takakeisho, I know, but he wanted to be. It's like he pushed Takakeisho when he was around. Thank you, Matt. I'm skipping over you for a minute, Monster. Thank you. Have fun. You got to tell us more about it. Thank you for coming into the stream when you're doing the cool thing that we all want to do. Have fun. Check us out when you can again. But yeah, Hakuho really isn't a huge fan of Takakeisho. He throws shade at him all the time. But I feel like he wants to like Takakeisho, because he probably senses and has seen for himself how hard Takakeisho works. And Hakuho is a workaholic. So he can't hate Takakeisho completely, because he can't say that Takakeisho doesn't train hard enough. He can't say that Takakeisho doesn't want it hard enough. His issues are that Takakeisho is just not the guy. So he wants to like him, but he's just always disappointed. So I need to translate what he was saying before the match even started. I can imagine he's not the hugest fan of Ura either. Which, by the way, Gonoyama also trained with Ura and Kota no Waka. So very, very interesting stuff. Go to Gonoyama's Wikipedia page. It's fascinating. Okay, back to Monster said, Hokuseiho is 6-4 and only took one loss so far. He's fine for now. Not Joey Strong, but he'll hang around in Makuuchi. Yeah, he'll be fine. He's a real strong guy, and he's just learning. It's gonna be a tough learning curve, but he will learn. He'll get there. Mitch says, now I'm curious if Tobizaro would have a good second career as Olympic breaststroke swimmer. He could use this basho as audition tapes to show off his stroke. Oh, Mitch. You gotta find somebody else to hate on, because Tobizaro is just gonna keep winning and winning and winning. And it's just gonna make it harder for you. Easy says, I watch foreign language videos with Google Translate open and it helps some. Yeah, I should try to do that. I know I have a good enough ear that I can actually hear the words, but I can't translate at the same time. There's a disconnect there for me. It's I'm very good at hearing foreign words, repeating them exactly as they sound, but I can't translate them quick enough, in a sentence. So if it's a word I know, I'm good. So I should try that. And then Jackson Easy are saying, have fun, Matt. We're all jealous, but definitely have fun for all of us. And Monster says, Hakuho has insight, obviously, but he also said Asanoyama was the next Yokozuna, so he isn't always right either. I agree that he's wrong about Asanoyama, but it's the opposite of Takakeisho. He loves Asanoyama. He loves him as the physical type of wrestler. He loves how his mind works. He knows how strong he is. He knows how capable he is. But sometimes those factors are not enough to win. And we see that with Asanoyama. So no, he's not always right. Jax asks, how's everyone watching? I was on Leo Dickerson's channel. Had to watch Salt City Sumo. Monster Abema. I always watch NHK. NHK is I watch NHK highlights, and then I check some other stuff just to get, like, the highlights now shows everything, but I check some other stuff for Jurio. And I read a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff on Tachi, and then sometimes I get Japan Times, and I forget the other one. There's another Japanese English newspaper. I can't think of it right now, but John Gunning writes stuff. So I read a lot in addition to watching NHK. The NHK app is like on Roku. And I have a computer. Like, I do all of this sumo stuff on a computer, so it's really easy to just go there for me. Uh-oh, guys. No one's talking, and it's 10:07. You know what that means. Unless you come up with some last-ditch conversation, then I'm going to have to go. Jack says, I get highlights on broadcast TV in New Jersey, not cable broadcast TV. NHK used to be on cable, but I haven't had cable in, like, forever. But it's easy to get. You have to want to watch it there, but, you know, because you have to watch it at the time that it appears. Mitch says, for a while I thought I just had a strong disdain for all Oitsukase stable, but then I realized it was just Tobizaru and Endo. I'm indifferent on the rest, but I have a soft spot for Shiragisho. You don't like Endo either? You're a monster, Mitch. He's one of the most popular guys in sumo as far as his fan club goes. They are not going to interview you. They are not going to let you speak ill of Endo. Monster says, moment of sorrow for Dai Shoho and Chiyoshima. Yeah, poor Chiyoshima. And Dai Shoho is going back to Jurio. Jack says New Jersey PBS is NHK. So does New York PBS, but they only show it on occasion. So I just use the app. Lady Lid said, let's go Takayasu, this time for realsies. I would love it if he pulled it off. This is his best shot, but we say that every time he gets this close. But this is really, once again, his best shot. And Easy says, when is your next stream? I thought I had lost your channel. I'm going to do another one tomorrow night at 9:15, and then I'll do one on Thursday at 9:15. Then no streaming Friday or Saturday. Sunday, John and I will get together and do the recap, and then that will be, I will put it up on Monday, and it'll be a premiere. So the chat will be live with me typing, but not live with us talking. Because it's way too hard. It's really hard to talk about all the stuff we have to talk about and read the comments. It's impossible. Monster said, Chiyoshima was one of the first Rikishi I became a fan of. I feel like this might be his last tournament in Makuuchi, and I'm so sad. It's been a long time coming. I mean, he really, like, held it together for so long. I mean, maybe it'll be just a little stint in Jurio, and he'll be back. Jack says, Mitch, I love too many guys. I don't hate anyone. Mitch says, I don't care much for Endo. He's someone who's had as much hype as Hakuho and Onosato, but hasn't done much of anything. I will say that that's true. I don't dislike him for it. I'm disappointed, but it's true. Endo was much hyped, but that's because he's very capable, and he just hasn't done it. Onosato might pull it around. I mean, Onosato looks good. Hakuho, I mean, he's, barring some horrible thing, he's the next Yokozuna. I'm calling it now. Easy says, I'm rooting for Takakeisho. Excellent. And Easy said, yeah, I listened to the last one. It was very good. Awesome. Very awesome. I hope most people are Takakeisho fans in here, because I talk about him so much that if you're a Takakeisho hater, you just can't like this channel. You'd be like, ugh, she's talking about Takakeisho again. I hate that guy. So hopefully most people in here have at least an appreciation for Takakeisho, or else this show would be torture. Monster says, at least the promotion scene for Juro is very exciting. Roga, Kitanowaka, Tomokaze, Tohakuryu, Bushozan, Chunaomi. Juro has been great to watch. Yeah, all the guys at the bottom are going to have to really be careful because there's a lot. Like last tournament, there wasn't many guys to come up. This tournament, they're ready to take your spot. So everybody better get it together if they want to stay in the upper division. Mitch says, I want to see Aoyama make another comeback. Yes, we gave him all this positive energy in July, but this tournament, he's trying. He's trying. He might pull it off. He's done it before. He might do a 7-8 or an 8-7. But it's a little harder this tournament than it was last tournament. In his interview with Sumo Primetime, he talked about being very sad that Tochinoshin left, but that he wanted to be in sumo for a long time coming. So I think he's going to give it his all and, maybe would even stay around in Juryo for a little while. We know that he has his Japanese citizenship now, so he's probably hunting for that elusive elder stock. Monster says, Takakeisho is at least top 5 for me. He's awesome, and I want to see him become Yokozuna so bad just because there have been so many who have doubted him. That's the thing. How can you root against a man that everybody doubts? There are a lot of Takakeisho haters out there, and I have to ignore them. And I'm sure they do not care for 42 Opinions. But they say the same stuff. He's a one-dimensional fighter. Okay, I would turn that around and say he's the best at what he does. And if you want to see a variety of sumo, you have 41 other guys to watch. Takakeisho should stay Takakeisho. Put out as much power as he can, and when he goes up against the really skilled guys, it's fascinating to see will skill or power win out. Mitch says, has Takakeisho fought Kota Nawaka yet? I want to see Kota Nawaka get a piece of those hands. I don't think he's fought him yet in this tournament. Takakeisho will be fighting all those top guys soon. Jack says, I'm glad I got the notification for the show while I was here. 42 Opinions rocks. Thank you, Jax. And I know you've been out there spreading the word about us. We're not huge, but at the same time, I'm very grateful that we're over 200 people. It's very cool that over 200 people think this show is good enough to listen to. And of course, all of you who come in and chat, it's awesome that you would, give up your time for that and that you think this show is good enough to do that. There's a lot of competition out there in terms of channels that are way bigger. Like they put a video out and they're getting, 5,000 views. That's probably never going to be 42 Opinions, but every time I see like our last, preview show is over 700 views. That's amazing. Like that's probably some of the best we've done. We've had a couple of 1,000 view shows, but this 700 one that we most recently got, like that was right away. That was definitely engagement. So, you guys are awesome. Without all of you, there's nobody watching, no one listening, and it's just me and John, laughing to ourselves and telling our own stupid jokes to ourselves. Mitch says, for some reason, he loves to give Kota Nawaka the roundhouse slaps, and I freaking love it. Which you may or may not know about Takakeisho. And I know a lot about him because I love him. He started off in full contact karate. That's probably why he's into those slaps. Now, we know Hakuho did the slaps out of desperation. I think Takakeisho does them out of just, he's bred with the fighting spirit. And if it's allowed, he's going to do it. Like, full contact karate is hardcore. That's probably why this guy is so tough. I mean, I do not full contact karate, and it's tough. I can't imagine, getting fully... Not that I haven't actually taken a full... I've taken a couple of roundhouses to the stomach. Unintentionally. Sometimes when you fight those black belts, they make mistakes. And it's very painful. I can't imagine if that's what you're doing just on the daily. So Takakeisho is one hardcore guy. Monster says Takakeisho often loses when he does the slaps, but they're super cool. Yeah, I like them. I know some people hate him, but I like him. But I also like fighting, so, you know. Jack says, Wakamoto Haru fights Takakeisho day 11. Yeah, I'm a little afraid Takakeisho might hanka that one. It depends. If he's in really good fighting shape, he's going to go at him. But Wakamoto Haru, if he gets the belt, he wins that match. So I think Takakeisho might try something shifty. Monster says, whoever wins Wakamoto Haru versus Takakeisho might pick to win the Yusho. Takakeisho. Mitch says, speaking of roundhouses, did you see the one that I think Tohakudo tried to give Tomokaze on, I think, like day 3, day 2? I heard about it. I missed that. I'm going to have to go back and see it. I got to see that for myself, but I did hear about it. I hope Takakeisho does not hank it, and I hope you all don't hate him come tomorrow night's live stream, because I just don't want to hate on him. And if he hankas, it's like, am I going to have the responsibility to, like, call this out? I'm so tired of it. I did a whole video the first time Takakeisho did it against Hokuto Fuji, and, man, I was called a flat earther and everything. So, I don't want to do it again. Takakeisho, don't put me in that position. Just fight him straight on. But also win. You got to win. Winning is important. You need your 8 wins, and you need to not get injured. Okay, I'm really going to go this time, though I feel like I could talk to you guys for another hour, because this has been a really fun live stream. You guys just giving me stuff to work with. It's awesome. So, thank you for that. Mitch said it was super late, and if it landed, it would have taken his head off. I'll tell you this, Mitch. When I get off the live stream, I'm going to go watch it immediately, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow night. So if you're coming back tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about it after I've seen it. And if I happen to translate any of that Hakuho video, I'll let you know what he said too. I think I heard him say wakate mas or something. And I'm like, what does that mean? I feel like I've heard that. Monster said it was so much fun today. Thanks. Thank you. It was fun because of all of you guys coming. It's only as fun as the people who show up. I'm just here, you know, to sort of guide it. But look out for the link to the Hakuho reaction to the matches. I'll put that as soon as this is done in the comment section. Thank you all for coming. Monster, I expected the conversation will be just as good tomorrow, because we'll have even more leaderboard stuff to talk about. It's going to be beautiful. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jax. I don't always get to see you on here, so I'm glad you made it. See you tomorrow night. Enjoy. Tohakudo stands rise up. I love the anti-sumo. Like a Shodai.